And the salespeople were mad at me because I wasn't even in sales. And I at that moment, I learned if you don't ask for the business, if you don't ask for the business, you get 0% of the business.
Yeah.
And that's why everywhere I go, I always ask for the business and I always ask for a discount.
I love it. But you said something there that I really want to focus on, because one of my good friends, Coach Michael Burke, talks about something called prey drive. And he said prey drive, basically, if you think about a dog. Hey, everybody, what's up? It's your host of Beast Nation, Brad Blazer, back once again. Many people refer to me as the Robin Hood of knowledge. Why? Because I'm taking knowledge and information from great people, great thought leaders, and we're distributing it around the world and giving it to people just like you. And today is no different. I have got a phenomenal business person that is a great thought leader, and he's here today because we got a huge event coming up that I want him to speak about called the Shift Business Accelerator. It's a couple weeks away, but this guy is just doing massive things, folks. So I want you to pay special attention. For those of you that have been on Beast Nation before, the best way to learn is to get a pencil and a piece of paper so you can take good notes. And if not, just make sure you come back so that you can listen to it again. But today, I want to introduce everybody in our Beast Nation community to Mr. Daniel Gomez. Hey, buddy, how you doing, Daniel?
Woo, Brad, I'll tell you what, man, I had this on my calendar. I was ready to rock and roll and add some value, man. And I tell you what, I love bringing energy. I love bringing the excitement. And the one thing that I can tell you that helps people, everyday world, get to that next level is just raise your energy a little bit more and people will be attracted to you, my friend. So thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here with Beast Nation.
Thank you so much for being here. I know it was the highlight of your day.
Yeah. Boom, baby. Hey, I got my pen ready too. I'm going to take notes.
Oh, there you go. There you go. I love it. I love it. So, what I always like to do is to kind of start with what I call somebody's backstory. It's kind of like, we all know who you are today. You're obviously coaching, you're out there, you're doing your big event, but I always love to learn a little bit about a person's past, because I believe that where they started largely influences kind of where they end up. So could you share, maybe in a few, minutes, kind of your backstory, kind of like what inspired you to be doing what you're doing today, or kind of a little bit about your upbringing, just so our audience gets a better sense of who you really are.
Man, I'll tell you what, I'm just a guy who loves people. And growing up here in San Antonio on the South Side, man, we grew up poor. I knew what it's like to eat cereal with water. And I'll never forget one day, Brad, after football practice, I tried to play it off. The guys are the guys in middle school and you want to fit in. And one of the guys said, yeah, man, I can't wait to go to Fuddruckers and get a burger. And man, it's going to be good. And man, he goes, don't you just love their burgers? Ain't they good, Daniel? And I just yeah, they're good, right? But I lied, Brad. Never been to Fuddruckers in my life. And I remember when everybody kind of left, everybody goes home and after the football practice, and I was 7th grade, felt this little, said, man, I'm lying about food. I'm lucky we get to go to McDonald's, right? And I promised myself at that moment that I was never going to allow myself to feel that way again, because I generally flat out lied. Because I wanted to fit in over a burger.
Yeah. Wow.
And at that moment, I realized, man, my mom had passed away by that time, but I was living with my brother, and I said, never again, right? When I can make it happen, I'm going to try. I didn't realize at that moment I made that decision to better my life. I had that dream. I was really disappointed in myself. And as time went on, I just always strived to do better in sports, and they went to school. They didn't want to go to college. Wasn't a college guy, to be honest with you. Hated it. I got accepted to UT Austin, right? Again, couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
So one thing led to another, and just kind of worked my way up as a horticulturist. Got my associate's degree in horticulture. Owner believed in me. Went to $1 million homes here in the Dominion in San Antonio.
Yep.
And we would do David Robinson's house. And I'll never forget just being in that proximity. I was like, wow, right? Like being in David Robinson's house and being in George Strait's house, right? Because we would do their homes, and they have these inside atriums.
Yep.
But at that moment, God was expanding my mind to believe bigger and better. And I'll tell you what, I got the dream. And next thing you know, right, this is where my sales career started, because no business is going to survive without sales. I went there and I told one of the other ladies, because we had several residents within the Dominion, Said, you know, you need a plant in that corner. She said, you think so? And I'm like, well, Brad got one. Really? Guess what? Order me one, man. I went back to the office and said, hey, I don't know, but Miss Gazelle, she wants a palm tree. And he goes, well, do the order. The owner said, do the order. I go, great. And then my scarcity mindset and said, man, $10,000 for a palm tree? She ain't gonna sign this crazy. Like, in my mind, I'm like, you're dumb. So I faxed it over back in the day. I'm giving my age away. I faxed it over there, and I'm like, man, not even like a minute later.
Yep.
He goes, all right, man, it's done.
I love it.
Well, then that was the beginning, and then next, you know, a month had passed by. He goes, hey, I never saw your commission for the palm tree. I'm like, what are you talking about, Mike? He goes, yeah, you get paid for that. After that, I was a selling fool, Brad. Let me tell you. I said, well, how much do I get paid? He goes, well, you get 5%. That was 500. He told this Mexican $500 for selling a palm tree. I promise you, everywhere I went from there, Brad, hey, you need a plan over there. You need a plan over there. And the salespeople were mad at me because I wasn't even in sales. And I at that moment, I learned if you don't ask for the business, you get 0% of the business. Yeah. And that's why everywhere I go, I always ask for the business and I always ask for a discount.
I love it. You know, but you said something there that I really want to focus on, because one of my good friends, Coach Michael Burke, talks about something called prey drive. And he said prey drive, basically, if you think about a dog or you think about a big tiger or lion, it's the ability that they have to see something and then boom, they chase it, man. It's like there ain't no turning back. And he said, when I first heard that term from a Navy SEAL, I thought about it for a second. And I said, you know, the problem with most people is that prey drive is dormant. It's like it's in us, but it's dormant and it needs to be activated. In one way, he says, because there are 5, one way he says to activate that prey drive is proximity. It's exposure. It's just what you said, being in a huge mansion like George Strait's house or Robinson's house and going, wow, this is nice, man. It's like when people finally, for the first time, get on a private Learjet and they're like, man, I want to fly like this, like for the rest of my life. It activates something, you know, it's kind of like flipping that switch.
Yes.
And so it was great that that happened for you, that allowed you to go from where you are to where you are today. It was exposure and proximity because, you know, I tell people, look, if you're not happy with where you are right now in your life, take a look to your left and right and take a look at your friends, because Jim Rohn says you are the average of the 5 to 7 people that you're spending most of your time with. And so the easiest way, boom, to up your game is just to not necessarily get rid of everybody in your life, but it's to start networking and start creating proximity to bigger people that have altitude over you, because it'll open your mind and expose you to those bigger ideas and make you realize that things like that are possible. You just need the effort, you need the action, you need to be putting one foot in front of the other, moving forward every day. And, you know, let's face it, you and I both know this. Everybody wants 6-pack abs, but very few people are willing to go to the gym, right?
No, and I love what you said, right? Because our prey drive, we have it within us. But the thing is one thing that I can tell that most people, what hinders them is they don't want to change, Brad. Everybody wants a Porsche. Everybody wants a Lamborghini, like we were talking about. Everybody wants that experience, but you have to change, right? It's like you brought up Jim Rohn. One of the quotes I love from Jim Rohn is, right, if you want better, you need to be better, right? You need to be better. If you want better in life and business, you need to better yourself. How are you going to do that? A, proximity. B, what are you taking in? Optics, right? What are your optics you're taking in every day? If we're seeing junk, we take in over 10 million bits of information through our eyes. They're taking about that 10 billion a second, 10 million a second, right? But if we don't realize that and we watch these things that don't add value to us and we wonder why we're not getting the results, because if you're watching junk, guess what? Junk in, junk out. Exactly. Junk in, junk out. So it's visually, auto, right? What are you listening to? But we don't realize that. So I want to say this, that I love what you said. And the moment you change your proximity, the moment you change your input, and the moment you really start believing it for yourself, I'll tell you what, that prey drive is automatically activated. And you're like a tiger, that lion every day, right? I want to go out there and I want to hunt, because there's nothing more rewarding. People say, Daniel, isn't that selfish? No. How is it selfish? How can I send money to the orphanage? How can I send money to the homeless and the needy? How can we help, right? My wife's a breast cancer survivor, Brad. How can we give thousands to breast cancer women that need help if we don't have the money to give?
Right.
So it's not being selfish. It's you're blessed to be a blessing, man.
Exactly. No, I totally love it. And the thing that is so important is to realize that by being that way, becoming more successful, having more disposable income, more disposable wealth, you can do great things. You can be philanthropic, like you said. You can donate. You can, depending on how much money you have, really help change other people's lives. And
Yes.
I tell people, look, if you're trying to be successful and rich because you want to wear a flashy watch like a Rolex or whatever, Hublot, I've got 5 of them. My biggest decision sometimes is, well, which fucking watch do I wear today? But it's not that, because that can come and go. The nice car can come and go. And one of the things that I talk about, which I'll be talking about at your event in Laredo, is you've got to find your purpose. If you don't have a purpose of waking up every day, why am I here? Why am I doing what it is I'm doing? You're never going to ultimately get to where you want to be. It's the purpose that helps you get up when you get knocked down. It's the purpose that basically allows you to come into the office and go through the hustle and go through the grind every day. Because the biggest problem most people have that make the transition from either leaving corporate America or leaving a job and transitioning to, quote, entrepreneurship, is that entrepreneurship journey until you're way successful is lonely as hell. Why? Because
Yeah.
there's so many naysayers. Like, are you an idiot to leave your 401k and the health insurance and the comfort of what you have there to go over here to the Shark Tank where it's risky and you don't have any insurance and we don't know if you're going to be successful? And people gravitate towards what?
Yeah.
They
Commonality.
gravitate towards complacency, commonality, what
Yes.
they've been told. You go to college, you get a job, you work at a career for whatever, and if you look at the statistics, most people are not millionaires. Most people are
Yes.
living check to check, wondering how they're going to pay their mortgage. And I'm largely thinking to myself that the old way of doing things, go to school, get a career, it is for some people. But for those people really that are looking for more, it's having confidence in yourself, being a little bit of a risk taker, and facing that fear. Because one of the things that we talk about in one of our programs called Build Your Beast is understanding that fear is false evidence that appears
Yes.
real. It is in your subconscious mind. It's talking to you. And basically, if you buy into those limiting beliefs or the self-doubt, you're not going to go anywhere. And fear,
Yeah.
look at the 4 letters, it's either number 1, you can forget everything and run in the other direction and retreat and hide, or you can face everything and use that fear to motivate you and rise by building that confidence, doing bigger and greater things up in your life.
Yeah, I
Uh,
know. I love what you said, right? Because if you're not willing to bet on yourself, who's going to bet on you, right? You have to bet on yourself. And what you're saying when you stay in that commonality place, that I get it, right? Not everybody's built to be an entrepreneur, but I can tell you what, the most successful people in life have been entrepreneurs. We kind of just talked about it off camera. Is I just bought a dream car that I had as a kid, right? What a vision was, I wanted to buy myself a Porsche. And it wasn't because I was greedy or nothing. It was because I wanted to reward myself, right? But I would have never bought that car working where I was at, right? I would have, that's the reality of it. I would have just not had that. But coming into business for myself and really applying the success principles that we're going to talk about June 12th at the Laredo Country Club at the Shift Business Accelerator Conference, it's really, there's no limit to yourself, right? We set the own, right? The limit is this. There's no limit. So just imagine if you want to make $100,000 a year, if you want to make $250,000 a year, if you want to make, right, 10 million a year, it's all up to you. And it can be done. You know why? Because somebody already's out there done it, Brad. And it's just so many times we want to reinvent the wheel. No, just keep it simple. Follow the success process that we put in place, or anybody else teaches you. And this is the thing. Once you plant those seeds, continue to water them. And this is where most people messed up, Brad, is they're not consistent. They come out, boom, they're on fire. They're running after it the first month, the first 2 months. And if you want to win in business, guess what? Just stay in the game long enough, because after a year, half the people that started with you are gone. And then the next year, guess what? It's only you and a few. So the pickings are bigger, and they're going to be like, you know what? Brad and Daniel, they've been around for a while. Think about it. Think about all the people that we used to see on LinkedIn or on Facebook. And after 2020, where are they at?
Yep. Exactly. Totally agree. It's all about consistency. It's showing up every day. And it's really just about, having that vision, having that goal. I learned from some of the people that I've interviewed in the past that very successful people are like racehorses. They're able to put on blinders and just basically block out the noise. They call it the noise. It's all the bullshit, all the naysayers, all the haters, and they're just every day, man, just moving forward. It's like a wide receiver that he's running towards basically the goalpost at the end of the field. I'm going to do this, and I don't care what people say. I'm not listening to you. I ain't listening to the naysayers. And I'm just going to go out there and I'm going to show you. And what happens, and this has actually happened in my personal life, the naysayers and the haters end up becoming your students and your clients.
Yeah.
They're like, holy shit, the dude's driving a nicer car now than I am. The dude's living in a nicer house. Why is he on all these big podcasts? Why does he have people in multiple countries around the world? I need to start following and finding out, like, what's his secret. And then they buy your books, and then they call you, man, like you're really doing this. Well, yeah.
It's
And
because
it's so funny because it's like, I'll show you how to do it too. I'll share my secrets, but you got to pay me to coach you. I'm not going to do it for free. And then they're like, okay, and it's just so funny that you see how that circle turns, because it's so funny. When I wrote my first book, and that came out about 2019 or whatever, I thought the first people naturally they're going to go buy my book are who? My siblings, my brothers and sisters, my aunts and uncles, my mom. Hell no, none of that. I'm like, what the hell, folks? I'm now an author. Go to Amazon, buy my damn book. But here's the thing. They never saw me ever as an author and as a coach and as a speaker. And when I shared with them my dream, I want to be like a global celebrity that's coaching and getting on stages and podcasts. They're like, what are you, crazy? And then my brother-in-law jokingly is like, well, should I get your autograph like now before you become famous? And so you fast forward now like 3 years, man, and here I am speaking on some of the biggest podcasts. My podcast is rated the second highest show, according to Yahoo News and Yahoo Finance, to help people get through COVID, speaking at events like yours and hosting mine and just getting on stage with people like Kevin Harrington and Sharon Lecter and, Dr. Kevin Elko and all these big global celebrities. People are like, man, dude, like, how did you make those connections? Like, how are you even on stage with someone like a Kevin Harrington or the woman that co-wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad? And I'm just like, man, it's just all about showing up every day and just never giving up on that dream. And I'm living it,
everybody wants the reward, but nobody wants to take the risk, Brad.
Exactly.
Everybody wants the carrot, but nobody wants to just
Yep.
do the work to get the carrot out of the ground, right? Everybody wants that golden carrot, but you have to take that risk. And the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward. I don't care what you say. And a great example of that is you're talking about commonality and success, right? Complacency. Just yesterday, I was like, well, our podcast is doing good. The Daniel Gomes Inspire Show, we won Podcast of the Year. We're like, it's good. And I just felt like I knew I wanted that Rodecaster Pro. And then I said, well, if I'm going to get that, one thing leads to another. So I said, well, but I don't really need to spend $2,000, right? My podcast is doing good. And you try to talk yourself out of it. No, dummy, go buy it, Daniel. Invest in yourself. And finally, yesterday, I just felt like God gave me a kick in the butt. I went and bought it because I'm never going to grow my podcast from here. And I'm never going to be able to build the studio I want with the equipment. It works perfectly, but right, you have to change the infrastructure within your organization. You have to change the infrastructure of your business. It all starts on a foundation. And so many people, they get a little bit of success, right? Somebody comes out of working at a corporation making $50,000 a year. The first thing you ask them, what do you want to earn? Oh, 50,000. No, dummy, you can make more. I mean, no, you're not an employee anymore.
Right.
Dream bigger. Why not $250,000? And then once you taste it, they're making more money than they ever had. And then they get complacent, they get lazy. And the very things that got them there, they stopped doing it. And I can tell you, because I was guilty of that. I said, man, what's going on? And it's like, okay, you're doing more than what you ever have, but keep going, right? There's always another level. And it took myself connecting to the Sharon Lecters, to the Bill Walshes, and to the James Dentleys, and then meeting the Brad Blazers, right? Like, I really feel it's divine that we met in this season. But if you're stuck right now, if you're not progressing, you're regressing. And what stinks about that, Brad, is when you're regressing, you're dying. And when you're dying, that's when all your creativity goes away. That's when all that energy goes away and you're not going to be at your best. So don't worry about giving 120. Just give what you got right now. Because if you can't even give 80%, 120 is too far out. Right?
Yeah.
Right now, think about what investment can I make within myself? What investment? Maybe for you, it's going out there right now and buying a new suit because you've been needing one for businesses. Maybe it's for you to just really invest in that book. It could be a $20 investment, but get out of your comfort zone and do something different. Of course, you're going to be frustrated. I love what you said. I came up with this quote, Brad, when I thought about my quote, right? This is a quote that I said is, you're not a real entrepreneur until you spent a time in the restroom crying and you are 99.9% sure you were going to quit and give up, but you did it.
Wow. I love it, man. It's so true. You know, there were multiple times in my career, both when I was in oil and even, you know, what I'm doing now, where should I go back to what I was doing before, you know? And it was so funny because, you know, after I started my coaching business and I walked away basically from what I was doing, helping other companies raise money and consulting, she's like, well, how much longer are you going to do this Mickey Mouse thing that you're trying to figure out before you give up? I mean, like, how much more money are you going to spend? And I'm like, there's no turning back. It's like, I heard a great expression, and I forget who it was. I mean, it was actually Arnold Schwarzenegger. He said, if you have a plan B, you're screwed, because that means you're not committed to your plan A. He said, people that are committed have no plan B. It's like, it's plan A and it's plan A and it's plan A. Because if I'm already thinking about, well, if this don't work, I'll do this. It's like, well, you've already given up. If you're already thinking that and you've got your plan B, that means that you're not 100% committed to your plan A. You know,
I'm laughing because when I have those moments when you want to just break shit or do something, when it's those frustrating days, and I think like, man, I'm going to quit. I'm like, well, I have nowhere else to go, so I got to keep going.
But, you know, when I heard Arnold Schwarzenegger said that, I'm like, man, you know, for a guy like him who's done so much in life, obviously bodybuilding, movies, global celebrity, you know, governor of the state of California, you look at this guy and he's like, man, in his life, there was like probably never a plan B. You know, he understands the concept of what it means to be truly committed 100%. And, you know, I tell people, look, if you're out sailing one day in the middle of the ocean and, you know, your boat sinks and you're able to swim to a deserted island and it's, you know, 100 degrees in the shade and you've got to find water for survival because water is one of the essential elements you need as a human to live, and you start walking around on that island, are you going to give up?
No.
Until you find it? No. Why? Because your life depends on it, dude. That's exactly the way it should be with being an entrepreneur. Your success, your family's success, the lineage you can create for your children to step into a business, it's all on you. So don't give up. You know, don't buy into the naysayers. Yeah, it's going to be frustrating as hell. There are going to be days that you want to throw in the towel. There are going to be days, like you said, you want to go and cry.
Yeah.
And next day and just keep going forward, because you'll figure it out. And someday things will turn. You'll see the light at the end of the tunnel and you'll be like, man, I'm so glad I stuck it out. I'm so glad I made the journey. And I'm so glad that I'm here now at, quote, the destination of whatever that looks like for you. You know, and it can be a beautiful, wonderful thing. So let's do this. I want to talk about Shift Business Accelerator. You got this big event coming up here in a couple weeks, about 2 weeks away, actually.
Yes.
I'll be there. You'll be there. Bill Walsh and some other people that we know are going to be there. So tell me about this. Like, how did you come up with the concept? And more importantly, like, what will people learn? And what's really the purpose of the Shift Business Accelerator event?
Well, the thing is this, is that 2020 was just a year. Everybody knows it was havoc and many businesses didn't make it out. But the thing is, a lot of businesses are still hanging on by a thread. And those are the people that we want to help, right? Whether you're a realtor, whether you're an account executive, or you're a small business with 50, an enterprise with 50 employees or less. The best way I can say this, Brad, is there's so many businesses out there still using a fax machine strategy. And you and I both know nobody uses fax machines, but they're approaching business with that fax machine mindset. When you come to Shift, it's going to give you that Shift Business Accelerator, to where we're going to give you new strategies, new sales techniques, different branding, a whole other, I mean, you've talked about podcasting, right? Podcasting right now has grown our business over 30%. It's a way of marketing yourself. So many people are so used to say marketing themselves in a newspaper. You don't do that anymore. There's no newspaper. But you still have people trying to do that. So when you come to Shift Accelerator, you're going to learn from yourself, right? What's your purpose? What's the mission statement? What are the core values of our business? Really, a lot of businesses fail because they don't even have an identity, right? So we're going to talk about sales. We're going to talk about marketing. We're going to talk about branding. We're going to talk about what products do you have within your products, because there's so many things, right? We're going to talk about just the overall scope of what's your sales process, how can you improve it, what's the culture of your business, and just so many other things to list that it's going to be an amazing, epic one-day event from 9 to 5. And the beautiful thing is this, is that you're going to take away new business strategies, new process, new sales, everything that's going to help you to really, if you get one product or one strategy out of this, just think about this. For the ticket that they're going to pay, I think our regular ticket $69 for the action taker and $90 for the VIP, which includes lunch with you, Brad. When you come, if you get one idea, it was worth $100. I mean, think about that. You mean if I spend $100, Brad's going to give me an idea in person, and I'm going to get to pick his brain during lunch, and it's going to raise my revenue even 5%, which is $50,000 maybe. Yep. It's a no-brainer, right? So I think it's really being in the proximity, like you were saying, with successful business owners. You've made it through COVID, right? They say, what qualifies you? Well, my business doubled in 2020. We had a record-breaking first quarter already in 2021, right? Boom. This is just the principles that you're going to learn. And that's another thing we're going to talk about is success principles. What are you doing as far as your success principles goes? Are you applying them, or are you just trying to survive? Because the thing is this, is many businesses right now are just still in survival mode. And if you're in survival mode, you have a destructive mindset, and you're not being creative, and you're just trying to stay afloat. So you're going to take away so many takeaways. And then we're going to have an amazing woman that's actually from Laredo also. So I believe right now, right, a big part of it is a lot of us ain't taking care of ourselves. So we're even going to have a special segment for health and wellness to really kind of take care of your body. Because I'll tell you what happened to me back in November, man. I almost broke my foot. And I can tell you, I'm going to say this in your camera, and I'm man enough to say it. The first day that happened to me, Brad, I had to crawl to the toilet to urinate. Wow. Because I hadn't gone to the doctor yet. I didn't have any crutches, and I didn't want to wake up my wife. That humbled me. Just like that, my health, my ability to walk was taken away. And I thought it was going to go away in a week, in a month. No, 3 months, man. 3 months, Brad. Wow. But I say that because we take our health for granted. You got to start paying attention to your temple, because you only get one body, and if you don't make it last, it doesn't matter. I learned, I'll never forget. I looked in the mirror and I was frustrated. I was just like, because I couldn't walk. I tried to walk and I was limping. Man. And I had a great day. I had a great day of business. We sold I think we onboarded 2 clients. It was a great day. And I was like, I looked in the mirror in the bathroom. My tears were coming down my eyes. And I'm being honest. I said, God, I said, man, I just want to walk. Yeah. I said, I just want to walk. I go, so he tested me on that. 2 weeks later, I was able to walk, Brad. Wow. Love it. But guess what? The business went away. He goes, well, you said you wanted to walk. And at that moment, I learned, not that I wasn't grateful, but I learned another level of gratitude. Because we take so many things for granted, man, and health is one of them. And really having people like yourself, myself, just surrounded with people that really care and love, that want to add value, man, that's what it's about. It's about helping the people of Laredo to get back on their feet, to believe that there's business out there. If you're in Cotulla or Webb County, wherever you're at, right there in the Laredo area, Sergio is a great guy. We both know him. He had this idea. He wanted to put this event together for his city. He goes, they need help. And, I really believe that it's going to be life-changing, not just from the business aspect, of course, but we are the business, right? If something happens to Brad or Daniel, we're the business, and hopefully it goes on for a long time. But the thing is, if we're the masterminds, the genius behind it, it might not. Yep. Well, so it's really about giving back in this event, and I'm excited to be there, man. And I'm glad you're with me. Absolutely. I mean, the thing that I took from what you just said that is so very important is, I'm a big Covey reader. I love Stephen Covey, his books, 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. And
he talks about a concept in there that I've really embraced. It's called the whole person theory. And he says basically that you as an individual, as a person, need to focus on four key areas in your life: your mind, your body, your spirit, and your soul. And I read that the first time and it like went went one ear and out the other. And I was like, okay, sounds great, and of course I've always been somewhat fit. I mean, there have been periods in my life where, just like most guys, I've carried around an extra 15 or 20 pounds. And then I was actually talking to Rock Thomas, who's become somewhat of a mentor of mine. Rock's a self-made millionaire. He's studied under Covey and Deepak Chopra and Jack Canfield, and he's been working with Tony Robbins for the last 16 plus years. And when I interviewed him on my podcast, he was talking about his community and his M1 movement and what they do. And he threw out a word. And I was like, say that word again. He said, fulfillionaire. And I'm like, man, I love that. Like, how in the world did you come up with such a great word called fulfillionaire? And he described exactly what he meant when he used that word. He said, "Do you ever see the movie Jerry Maguire, when Rod Tidwell was describing for Jerry what he was looking for? He said, Jerry, just give me the quan." He wanted more than just money. He wanted everything that came with his description of the perfect life, quan. And I said, man, that's being a fulfillionaire. He said, oh yeah, it's fitness, health, great relationships. You just love life. And I'm like, man, he said, yeah, Brad, what we teach people how to become here is not just rich. We teach them how to become fulfillionaires. Focus on your health, focus on your wealth, focus on your relationships, your friendships, your relationship with your kids, your spouse, etc. And I'm like, man, I love that, because we do have a big problem in the world, and that is most people have become lazy. Most people have retreated to a place of complacency. They're doing the same thing every day. They're on that treadmill.
Yes.
I wake up, oh, I got to go back to work, got to go punch in. At the end of the week, I barely have enough check left to pay my bills. And then they go and they punch a clock and they do it again. And they're on this treadmill like a damn gerbil. Guess what? You got to get off the treadmill. You got to be learning from people that are driving Porsches right now and doing big things with their lives. And, and I won't say have the secrets, because reality, there aren't no secrets. It's just, you've got to shift your mindset. You've got to basically untrain yourself and to some extent unlearn what you've been taught and start teaching yourself other things. Read the books. Listen to the podcasts, go to live events like Shift Business Accelerator here in a couple weeks in Laredo, and start basically just exposing your mind to bigger ideas, because when that happens, that's where the transformation will take place. And like Daniel said, one idea, one takeaway that you just back with a little effort and a little action and really focus on that can change your life. It can change your life. It can make you hundreds of thousands, maybe even $1 million.
Yes.
One idea, because I've seen it. I've experienced it. And I'm sharing that with you because there are people out there like, man, should I like spend the money? Oh, I got to drive from San Antonio to Laredo. Damn, that's a long drive, man. I'm like, folks, you got to be there. If you're not willing to invest $100 and put some gas in your damn car to get to Laredo, what that tells me and what it tells Daniel is you're not serious. You've got what I call a casual interest. You got a casual interest in your future. You got a casual interest in self-development. Until you decide that you're totally committed, ain't nothing going to change.
I love what you said there, right? Because it takes that.
It takes commitment, but are you casually interested in making more money, or are you seriously interested in making more money? Because if you're casually interested, you ain't ever going to make it. It's a desire. It's a desire. It ain't a goal. It's a desire. Oh, I desire to have a bigger house. I desire to have a nicer car. But, if you desire, your interest is casual. When you say, I am going to have a nicer house and I'm going to be driving a nicer car, and you commit, that's where you'll see the change. So commit, folks. Buy the damn ticket. Where can people find out more about Shift Business Accelerator? Is there
As a matter of fact, they can go to Eventbrite and just go to Eventbrite and put Shift Business Accelerator. They can get their ticket there. I'll put it in the comments here. That way they can get their ticket. And I'll tell you, me and you have talked about this a little bit too. It's not just the event. It's meeting the people at the event, and one person can change your life too, right? I've been to events where one person it's that power connection. So if you need help in your business, if you're stuck right now, if your revenue's gone down, or you're almost giving up, we're going to have inspiration. We're going to have motivation. We're going to have business strategies. You're going to get sales, marketing, the whole thing. And I want to say, I agree with everything what Brad said. Because if you say, I'm going to try, we'll see, you're never going to do.
Mm.
And right now, I want you to hear this, ladies and gentlemen. You can be, do, and have whatever you want. Let me say again, you can be, do, and have whatever you want. You can become what you want to become. So stop sitting on your rear end and know that there's people right now in front of you that you're listening to that care about people. Because the truth is this, is that if it was up to me, I wouldn't do the event. But we got to give back, because if not, we're being selfish, Brad.
I love it, buddy. I love it, buddy. Folks, I want to thank you all for being here. Again, another great guest, another great thought leader. For those of you that are listening to Beast Nation, perhaps for the first and second time where you're not a subscriber, go ahead and click that button and subscribe. Become a follower. Why? For the emails, for the positive things, for updates on our events like CapitalCon that we just had last month. So go ahead and click that button, folks. Become a subscriber to our podcast. Daniel, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. Thank you so much for telling everybody about the upcoming Shift event in Laredo in 2 weeks. I'll be there. I know you'll be there. I'm looking forward to seeing you, big guy. Again,
all right, brother.
Brad Blazer, thanking everybody for being here on Beast Nation.
Thank you, everybody.